Next on Currents News, the Supreme Court is allowing the Trump administration to bar migrants from seeking asylum in the United States. That's while the legal fight plays out in courts. The e-cigarette industry is about to feel the heat. Tighter regulations are on the horizon.
These candles of politicians, musicians, and other pop culture figures depicted as saints are sparking a conversation in Brooklyn. Some say they're fun, others say they're mocking the church. I'm Tim Harfman, and I'll have the story.
Plus, new storms could hit the already reeling Bahamas, and the Bishop of Brooklyn is reaching out to help. The news starts right now. Good evening, I'm Tamara Lane. Tonight, the White House is speeding ahead to stop Central American migrants from seeking asylum in the U.S. The administration getting the green light, at least for now, from the Supreme Court.
This court decision would allow implementation of the president's action for you to stay there while your process is being claimed.
Counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, after the Supreme Court upheld a ban on migrants from seeking asylum in the U.S. if they've traveled through other countries first.
For example, if you were coming from Guatemala and you passed through Mexico, you had to apply for asylum in Mexico rather than in the United States.
President Trump taking to Twitter, pleased with what he calls a big United States Supreme Court win for the border on asylum. The administration says this rule is needed to filter out asylum seekers who decline to request protection at the first opportunity.
This is a victory right now for the Trump administration because it's allowing this rule to go forward. But this is not a decision on the case itself on the merits. This is just allowing this policy to stay in place until the Supreme Court takes it up later in the term.
The House Judiciary Committee, led by Chairman Jerry Nadler and Zoe Lofgren, issued a statement Wednesday saying lives will be lost and that the United States can and must do better. Critics are upset the policy will remain in effect for the time being.
Mexico already is a dangerous place for asylum seekers, as the president himself has outlined. The human traffickers, the gang warlords.
America's bishops condemned changing the asylum rules immediately after the White House revealed the new restrictions. The Catholic leaders said the action prevents people from getting life-saving protection. At the same time, there's new help tonight for migrants who are stuck in Mexico on an asylum waiting list, thousands of people long. El Paso Bishop Mark Seitz is tapping a new fund of more than $100,000 that he raised along with the Knights of Columbus. The money is being sent to Juarez in Mexico to help migrants eat and survive on the other side of the border. Bishop Seitz is saying he's very worried about them. And an update tonight on President Trump's fight with Baltimore and the politicians who run the city. Not long ago, he blasted them for ruling what he called a rat-infested mess.
It's a corrupt city, there's no question about it. All you have to do is look at the facts. The government has pumped in over the years billions and billions of dollars to no avail, to absolutely no avail. Baltimore is an example of what corrupt government leads to.
The president will be in Baltimore tonight. He's speaking to the Republican congressional retreat downtown, which is in the heart of Congressman Elijah Cummings' district. Trump has blamed Cummings for running Baltimore with an iron hand. Turning now to the new war on vaping. The e-cigarette industry is feeling the heat as the Trump administration is making a move to ban flavored versions of the products. Britt Conway reports how tighter regulations are likely to impact the industry and consumers.
Forcing flavored e-cigarettes off the market. A new proposed enforcement policy aimed at banning non-tobacco flavored vaping products is helping parents and consumers breathe a little easier, but it has e-cig makers feeling the heat.
People are dying with vaping, so we're looking at it very closely.
The Food and Drug Administration is finalizing those guidelines, which are expected to be released in a couple of weeks. Vaping companies like Juul have been criticized for hooking kids on e-cigarettes with their sweet or fruity flavors.
The data just shows the kids are getting access to these products in spite of our best efforts at enforcement.
Juul maintains that its products are intended to convert adult smokers, but the announcement created some strong reaction on Wall Street. Shares of Altria, which owns a 35% share of Juul, fell on Wednesday before recovering. Philip Morris also took a dive, but then eventually went back up as well.
Vaping has become a very big business, as I understand it, like a giant business in a very short period of time. But we can't allow people to get sick.
Advocates say more regulations are good for consumers. According to the Stanford research on the impact of tobacco advertising, many e-liquid bottles lack child-proof caps and contain poisonous levels of nicotine.
I think it's starting to wake people up to the obvious causes now and potential long-term causes of vaping. So as a pulmonologist, I would say please don't vape.
Britt Conway filing that report. Tonight, there's strong pushback against the Trump administration's plan to ban flavored e-cigarettes. Gregory Conley is the president of the American Vaping Association.
Simply prohibiting flavors used by 13 million Americans. It is a disaster for public health, and it's going to be a disaster for President Trump's re-election campaign as well. Just getting rid of these products, it's going to do nothing to combat the black market contaminated THC products that are causing lung illnesses, and will actually just open up a brand new, potentially multi-billion-dollar black market.
Health experts are still investigating nearly 500 cases of respiratory illness and 6 deaths that could be linked to vaping. The use of e-cigarettes by young people is soaring. New numbers from the Food and Drug Administration show a jump of 78% in vaping among high schoolers. And the number of students in middle school using e-cigs is up 48%. The FDA is calling the increase alarming. A story that's still developing tonight. The Diocese of Rochester, New York has filed for bankruptcy protection, citing the state's new Child Victims Act. The bankruptcy filing does not mean Rochester's churches will close. In August, Albany lifted the statute of limitations to give child sex abuse survivors 1 year to sue their abusers, no matter when the wrongdoings happened. Bishop Salvatore Matano said in a statement that court protection was being sought, quote, in order to respond to claims stemming from the Child Victims Act in equitable and comprehensive manner, and to reorganize the financial affairs of the diocese in order to permit it to continue to fulfill its ministries to the Catholic faithful. In less than 30 minutes, the leading Democrat contenders for the White House will share the same stage for the first time at a debate in Houston. As the hopefuls go at it tonight, a big question for the party is who can win in November. Camila Bernal reports the latest on the state of the 2020 race.
For many Democratic voters, the question continues to be who can beat Trump in 2020?
Nothing can stop us. Because winning is what Americans do. Winning is what we know best.
But the 10 presidential hopefuls who are set to debate in Houston all say they can take on the president.
This is a fight we will win.
The answer to Donald Trump is not playing his game.
Together, we will make Donald Trump a one-term president.
A recent poll showing that 55% of those questioned are more likely to say they want the party to nominate a candidate with a strong chance of beating Trump. Only 39% said they're looking for a candidate who shares their position on major issues.
I got a plan for that. In fact, I got multiple plans for this.
The polls also showing that ahead of the debate, Joe Biden continues to lead at 24%.
He cannot, and I will not, let this man be re-elected president of the United States of America.
In second place with 18%, Elizabeth Warren, who will share the debate stage with Biden for the first time. Only 3 other candidates polling at 5% or more: Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, and Beto O'Rourke.
And I want to make sure that I'm representing their interests and serving them as president of the United States.
The remaining candidates all score 2% or less. Camila Bernal, Currents News.
By mixing politics and religious symbols, a shop in Brooklyn is sparking sales and outrage. The store is selling votive candles, but instead of images of saints, the candles are adorned with pictures of politicians and others, looking like religious figures. Currents News' Tim Harfman reports.
On these store shelves, you'll find candles featuring everyone from Barack and Michelle Obama to Beyonce and Jay-Z. But they're depicted as religious figures, such as the Immaculate Heart of Mary and the Sacred Heart of Jesus. But some Catholics don't find them funny. At St. Patrick's Church in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, we showed Catholics a candle of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
That is disgraceful. Whoa.
That's not right at all. It's against religion. You know, you're mocking religion, really.
The 8-inch candles are made by a Texas-based company and are shipped internationally.
Hello, Awesome.
Vanessa Raptopoulos owns Awesome Brooklyn in Prospect Lefferts Gardens and sells these candles.
I understand that, and sometimes people come in and shake their heads and sort of get mad, but we're a fun shop. We're just trying to honor these people because we love them, and that's what it's about. It's not about blasphemy or anything like that.
If you believe them and think they're good people, well, there are other ways to admire them and so on rather than doing something like that.
Father Alessandro Lenardi ministers to Catholics at St. Athanasius St. Dominic Parish in Bensonhurst. He says lighting a candle is more than burning a wick. There's symbolic meaning.
We light candles. Why? To pray, to ask for His help, for His mercy, His grace. We ask also the intercessions of the saints, of our Blessed Mother.
Former First Lady Obama as well as Justice Ginsburg are top sellers. But with the upcoming presidential election heating up, one candidate is becoming very popular.
Most recently, Elizabeth Warren is my #1 seller, so I literally can't keep her on the shelves.
But these Catholics say the presidential candidate doesn't belong on the shelves at all.
They should be ashamed of themselves because they're making a mockery of the saints and of what we hold dear.
Tim Harfman, Currents News.
There's good news tonight from a place that has known so much war, the Christian city of Karakosh in Iraq. Their library is open again. The Islamic State invaded the city located in Nineveh Plains. The terrorists burned homes, forced Christians to flee, and partially destroyed the library. Now the place of books is back in business, restored thanks to the work of volunteers from the church. America remembered what terrorists did to our nation on 9/11. Tonight, New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan is reminding everyone that the next day, September 12th, the city was filled with resolve.
You know what's always hit me, though, since I've come to, this is my 11th 9/11 as Archbishop of New York, and when I first came, I went down to Barclay Street to St. Peter's Parish, which was one of the sites where people were tended to and where the bodies and the wounded were brought. And the pastor there said to me, we're going to rise up. We're going to see that love conquers hate and that good conquers evil.
The Cardinal added that spirit of resilience and renewal characterizes our 9/11 today. There's a lot more news headed your way, including the latest on a painting of the Blessed Virgin Mary that's said to be weeping and what church leaders want to do with it. New storm warnings tonight for the Bahamas as the Bishop of Brooklyn rallies the diocese to help out. And why an Air Force vet decided to walk across America. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. It's not going to get better in the Bahamas. Another storm is threatening the hurricane-ravaged islands. Forecasters say up to 8 inches of rain could fall in the next few days on the same places already devastated by Hurricane Dorian. High winds are also likely to hamper rescue efforts on Grand Bahama Island and the Abaco Islands. At least 50 people are confirmed dead from Dorian, but searchers are trying to locate as many as 2,500 residents who are still missing. The Bishop of Brooklyn, Nicholas DiMarzio, is asking for donations to help victims of Hurricane Dorian. He is requesting that every parish in the diocese take up a voluntary collection this weekend, September 14th, or next weekend, September 21st. All donations collected will be sent to the Archdiocese of Nassau. If you would like to make a donation directly to the diocese, you can make checks payable to the Compostela Fund and write Bahamas in the memo section. The mailing address for those checks is Compostela Fund, 310 Prospect Park West in Brooklyn, zip code 11215. The address is also listed on thetablet.org. There's a new report just out about the worldwide impact of severe weather. Bad storms have forced a recorded 7 million people from their homes in the first 6 months of the year. And that's before Dorian battered the Bahamas. Experts in Geneva put the number together based on data from governments and the United Nations. A mystery at a Chicago church involves an alleged weeping icon of the Blessed Virgin Mary that church leaders want to remove. And at the same time, the house of worship is struggling to stay open. Currents News first reported on the story earlier this week. Now, Evelyn Holmes updates the latest developments.
The faithful here at Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church say they're weeping Virgin Mary as a sign. Demetrius Harasis has been a member here since 1967.
I was inside the church. I see the icon cry.
A group of parishioners spent the night guarding the icon and vowed to fight to keep it right where it is after the Greek Orthodox metropolis of Chicago, the leadership that oversees the church, announced it would be removing the icon from the sanctuary in an effort to authenticate the miracle.
We understand their position. They wanted to authenticate the miracle, and we don't have a problem with that, but we refuse to let them remove it from the church.
Some of those here say the miracle is a sign from God and now a source of hope as parishioners struggle to save their church.
I grew up here, and it's very sad what's happening, and shame.
The church says a custodian first noticed the weeping icon with tears streaming down her face on Sunday. The discovery comes as a judge approves a $2.5 million sale of the bankrupt Holy Trinity to another church. A statement by church leadership regarding the Weeping Virgin Mary icon reads in part, the metropolis of Chicago asks the faithful to remain vigilant and also reminds them that while it is indeed possible to experience the divine through temporal objects, our faith rests not on signs, but on Christ crucified.
Evelyn Holmes filing that report from Chicago. Parishioners at Holy Trinity vow to keep on fighting so their church stays open and the icon of the Blessed Virgin Mary remains inside. 3,300 miles and 5 pairs of shoes later, we have the story of a 71-year-old vet who walked across America. Tonight, he is home after trekking for more than 100 days. Why'd he do it? Chris Flanagan tells us he wanted to make sure his fellow veterans weren't forgotten.
My longest day was 52 miles, and my second longest day was 46.
71-year-old William Shuttleworth walked all the way across America, from his home in Newburyport to San Diego, 14 states in 110 days, and 5 pairs of shoes.
2 of them had complete holes in them by the time I got my new ones.
We were with Shuttleworth when he began his epic adventure back in May. He says he got an up-close look at a side of America few ever experience.
You think the world and country's coming apart, and it's a dangerous world. But you put 5 pairs of shoes on and walk across the country, you see some of the most gracious, kind, loving, hard-working Americans that want the same slice of the American pie that you and I had.
The U.S. Air Force veteran was on a one-man mission to raise awareness for veterans' needs, including homelessness and mental health issues. Along the nearly 4-month trek that he dubbed Vets Don't Forget Vets, Shuttleworth stopped and visited with veterans at places like VFW halls and coffee houses and says the reception around the country was unbelievable.
I've had motorcades leading me in, motorcyclists, firemen, police departments. I've had people open their hearts and doors and restaurants to me, celebrating what we're trying to do on behalf of veterans.
Shuttleworth says he only took 5 days off, not because of injury, but to meet up with family, and says he had very few close calls.
I had a couple dogs that looked at me as if I was breakfast one day in Colorado, but I was able to skirt them. No trucker issues, no car issues.
That was Chris Flanagan reporting. And just one more impressive feat, Shuttleworth was able to complete his walk across these United States nearly 2 months ahead of schedule. Still to come on Currents News, 2 stories about a new way of receiving the ancient sacrament of reconciliation. Italian parishes are getting an upgrade, the new tech being introduced that makes confession a lot easier. Plus, one campus minister is taking the sacrament on the go and onto the green, how he's making sure students on a college campus take part. And the tablet has a brand new page called Our Diocesan Family, where you can share your pictures of recent baptisms, Holy Communion, confirmations, marriage, all the joyous sacraments. For more details and to submit your photos, go to thetablet.org/ourdiocesanfamily. Your picture may be published in an upcoming issue of the newspaper. We'll be right back. Some churches in Italy are taking a step into what they call the modern age, and that's bringing technology to ancient traditions. The Diocese of Livorno in Tuscany has started allowing people to make online reservations for the sacrament of confession. Another church in northern Italy has become the first to make digital giving available for all of the church's services. The point-of-sale machines allow parishioners to use a credit card or PayPal to make a contribution to the church, donate to one of the parish-run charities, or even request a mass for a deceased loved one. Finally tonight, another way of receiving the sacrament of reconciliation. One Indiana priest is saying if you can't come to the confessional is going to come to you. The campus minister at Purdue University wants to make sure students can take part in what he considers the most important sacrament. Isabella Caruso reports about the confessions on the go.
Confession is a blessed sacrament, allowing Catholics to admit to their sins and receive forgiveness.
It's certainly deafening, like it's a bit terrifying.
It's daunting, right? Like, who wants to admit their sins?
It's also something many Catholics are afraid of and often avoid.
If this is a really important sacrament, then let's show it.
In order to keep up with the ever-changing and growing community, Father Patrick and St. Thomas Aquinas are taking confessions to go.
Let's get out where the people are, where the students are, take this golf cart out, do confessions on the go.
Is this real?
Yeah, it's for real.
What is happening? Why is there confessions on the go? Why is there a priest on the cart?
Pope Francis said we're supposed to smell like the sheep. But smelling like the sheep means you're not going to stay in that church and wait for all the people to come to us. Pope Francis wants us to go out to the people and experience them right where they are.
If you see Father Patrick and are interested in confessing, all you have to do is wave him down. He'll perform a traditional face-to-face confession, assign you a penance, and you'll be on your way.
I thought it was really funny when I first saw it, actually, but it's kind of cool that it's there and it's like kind of spreading the message.
We want to honor our traditions, but we don't want to be traditionalists. We don't want to be so staid and so off-putting that we get stuck in the traditions without recognizing how we can bring them to people in a new way.
It's never a bad idea to go to confession.
The point of confession is to receive mercy, to be able to look at yourself and to say, this is where I screwed up, but here's how I can do better.
I think Jesus Christ would be thrilled to see us doing something like this.
So Father Patrick wants to know,
how long has it been since your last confession?
Father Patrick says he plans to drive to campus every day. Meanwhile, his church will still offer its regular confessions for those looking for more privacy. That is Currents News. I'm Tamara Lane. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.